make sense with that picture. Now you know why I have Star Wars going here. So thank you so much for joining this session today. The title of my session is Bringing Your Values Out to Play, which coincidentally is the name of my book. What can I say? I got very creative with the title here today. And actually, the book just came out, so you guys are hearing my very first talk on this topic. Woohoo! You might be wondering why I am an astronaut in this picture. Has anyone ever seen me do talks for Reward Gateway before? Yeah, and I've got a little bit of a running joke going. So whatever the theme is that I'm talking about, the lovely Betta in marketing, she takes my face, the same picture each time. She takes my face and she puts it in a body. So I think last year I was a Sherpa. I've been a fortune teller, a bodybuilder. I was even Velma from Scooby-Doo. So I've been everything. I think we're up to 10, 2 more pictures, and there can be a Debra Corey calendar. Not that anybody would ever want it, but there you go. So what are we going to be covering here today? So I'm going to be answering 4 key questions. First of all, why are company values important? Why are they valuable? How can you discover, astronaut, discover, get it? How can you discover your values? Next, how can you bring your values out to play? And I'll explain a little bit more about why I use the term bringing your values out to play. And then finally, what can you do to keep your values alive? Sometimes even the hardest thing to do. So let's start with why. Now, I always start with why, partly because I'm a Simon Sinek fan. Anybody else? Simon Sinek fan? But I do it for 2 reasons. First of all, I want us all to be sort of that same common type. This is payback, because I had to walk out of the last session. Did you see me do that in the last session, ducking? Yeah, there you go. So it's payback. So yeah, I want us all to be in the same starting point before we blast off. There's the theme again. There you go. That's the groans because I'm not a comedian. But also, I've been in your shoes before. I've done HR for over 20 years. Actually, you're all friends of mine, 30 years, okay? Sounds better, 20. So I know what it's like when you have to explain the why. So I want to give you some more whys so that when you're challenged, you've got some more information. So what I did when I started writing the book is I thought about what was it like at companies that I worked at when we had great values or good values. Anybody ever worked for a company that has bad values or no values? And I tried to look at the difference. And also when I interviewed people, some of which are in the audience today, thank you very much, and I asked them the same question: why do you have your values? What can they do? And we all know, as Rachel said, they're what helps us, what fuels us to achieve our mission and purpose. But they do so much more than that. The first thing that they do is that they define who we are. If you think about your business, every business has a different mission. Every business has a different purpose. But if you look, how many values are the same from company to company? If we really want values to tick the why box, we need to make sure that they define who we are. And I'm going to give you lots of examples later. The next one is that they guide decisions and actions. Now, as much as we would like to be everywhere in HR and as leaders in our organizations, we can't. And we need to rely on our employees to make the right decisions. So if we have the right values, they are going to guide people. When they're standing in that crossroad and they're trying to decide, do I go left, do I go right, they're going to help people decide where to go. They also fuel our workforce. Have you ever been in a situation, and Bruce was talking about this with the lack of energy and drive and everything. Values can help you do that. I'm going to share a story in the moment, how values actually created that fuel to save the day. And then finally, couldn't forget a little plug back to the last book, Build It. Everybody saw the bridge earlier today. It contributes to driving engagement. You cannot have engagement without having the values supporting the purpose and the mission. So, when I started writing the book, I wanted to start out with a story. I think stories are a great way to start thinking about things. And I was trying to think about what's a story that shows how important values are. Anybody know the story of Apollo 13? Anybody see the movie Apollo 13? It was basically the 3rd time that the US was going to the moon. And it was a disaster. I don't know how far after they launched, but something went wrong. Some reason, one of the pieces of equipment was not tested. They did not live the value there. It was not tested. And one of the astronauts, one of the 3 astronauts, did a simple routine maintenance, and all of a sudden, the ship turned into a disaster area, which is why it's a great movie. And all of a sudden, they had to figure out, how are they actually going to live? Forget about going to the moon. How were they going to live? And the whole story and the whole movie is about how these 3 astronauts who are getting ready to die, possibly, and everyone down in NASA worked together and created a happy ending. It is a happy ending, just to let you know, okay? And these are their values: curiosity, team-oriented, excellence, passion for exploration, and agility. These are the things that created the difference between life and death for these astronauts. Now, I'm 100% sure that they did not have the values like pasted in the cockpit of the spacecraft. I'm sure they weren't sewn into their uniforms or anything like that, but they were a part of them. And that is our goal. That is the goal of everything that I'm going to be talking about today, is how can you get that intrinsic into that person so that when your employees are in life and death situations, things that are impacting your customers, fellow colleagues, and your business, that they make the right decisions. So you shared a couple statistics. You didn't share this one, though, I don't think. You shared a couple. Thank goodness we didn't share the same one. This comes from the same research that Rachel talked about. 32% of people feel completely informed. So I've just explained why it's so important. Only 1 in 3 actually know what their values are. So if you think about the astronauts, only 1 of them knew what they were doing. The others were sitting around screaming and crying and wondering what to do. Second, this comes from Gallup. Only 27%, so even less than 1 in 3, actually believe in their values. Why would you join a company if you don't believe your values? Part of it is because you probably joined not knowing your values, so we're going to talk later about how you can make sure that that happens. But that means that 2 out of 3 people in your organizations don't believe in what you are saying you need them to do. That's not right. And then finally, same study from Gallup, 23%, the numbers keep getting lower, 23% of people agree with their values, that they can apply them. So they're not even using them. So as I say in the last paragraph of the first chapter, Houston, we have a problem, which is what they say in the Apollo 13 movie. We have a problem. If our values are supposed to do those things, you're all shaking your head when I said they need to do this. If they need to do that, people are not doing it. So my goal in talking to you today and in writing this book is to help these numbers to change and help organizations do a better job of it. So let's start with the idea of discovery. Now, when I first started writing the book and I was mapping it all out, I was using the word design. How do you design values? How do you create values? How do you develop values? And the more I thought about it and the more I spoke to people, I realized it's not developing, it's not designing. You already have these values inside your organization. It seems really weird quoting myself, but I was always told you have to have the person's name. So according to Debra Corey, in her best-selling book, Bring Your Values Out to Play, this is really what it's all about. The journey to discover our values, your values, is to already look at what you already say. What are you saying in your company? What are the words that people are using over and over and over again? What are you already doing? What are the behaviors that you're doing that are actually helping your company succeed? Sometimes when people do values exercises, they do that whole Mars experiment. If you could only take 3 or 5 people to Mars, who would they be? That's looking at what people are doing. Also, what do you believe? What do you believe is going to make a difference at your organization? And then finally, what do you want to protect? What do you want to make sure is your legacy in your business through your values? So what I thought I would do is I would share with you 4 questions. Now let me ask you a question. Who has values already? Yeah? And that's not the problem. When I did a survey for this book, 90% of the people have surveys or have values already. So even if you have values, what I would love for you all to do is to go back to your company, grab a cup of coffee with a few people, get your values on one side, and ask yourself these 4 questions that I'm going to share with you, okay? Look at your values and ask yourself, are your values servants to my purpose or my mission? Everything that we should be doing through our values is getting at that mission. If it's not, we shouldn't be doing it. Has anyone ever heard this story about the Olympic rowing team, the men's Olympic rowing team in the 2000 Olympics? They were desperate to win a gold medal. So desperate that they were very tunnel visioned. And their tunnel vision was that the only thing that they were going to do in their training and in their personal life was anything that would make their boat go faster. That was their mantra. That was their target. And every decision that they made, should I have an extra bowl of pasta? Is it okay for me to have a beer tonight? What kind of mattress should I sleep on? Every single decision was based off of this concept. And that's exactly what we need to do with our values. We need to ask ourselves, are the behaviors that our values are going to be driving helping our boat go faster? Are they helping our organization to succeed? And if they're not, take a step back and think about what can I do to achieve that. This is an example of my values. So when I was writing the book, I thought, I can't write a book about values without having my own. Now, I've only been out on my own for a year, so it's only me, myself, and I. But I still wanted values to remind myself about what I was trying to achieve. Why did I go out on my own, and what am I trying to do in working with people and when I speak to people like you? And also, it helps me explain to people what I'm all about. So my two values, bit different, are open the door to possibilities. And that's all about me reminding myself that you start with the possibility. Too often in HR, especially when we get into operational mode, we start with, I can't do that. And I think that's part of the problems that we've created. I know I've created that before. So I always want to push myself to think about that door being open. And then my second one is create magic, which is all about engagement. So for me, everything I do is focused on these two things. And if I do something that isn't, then that's not the right thing for me to do. So again, think about how your values go into that. Second, are they specific to your company? Now, I wrote a blog for Forbes about a year or two ago, and I wrote it on values. And I am a bit geeky, and what I did is I looked at Forbes' top 100 companies, and I put the name of all the companies down one side, and I put their values across the top. And then I took a piece of paper and I hid the company names. I have to say, I couldn't have figured out which company was which, because they weren't specific, they weren't unique, they all blended together. Now, when I talk about values, often I talk about DNA, because they are our DNA. An interesting thing about DNA, 99.9% of our DNA is the same. So I know that we're all not going to have completely different values, but we still need to focus on that 1%, that 0.1% that's making us different. Another interesting fact about DNA, 85% of the DNA of a cat is the same as ours. Never knew that before. If that's in a Trivial Pursuit question, you now have won that. So what I thought I would do is I would share with you a couple. There are some brilliant values in the book, especially people who've shared it with me here, yes. I've just picked a couple of them just to bring some flavor. This is one from my last book, and I had to bring it out again because it is definitely unique. This is an Australian company. It's a tech company. And they have 4 values, and their values are clever company, no Muppets. I mean, who else has that value? And I love it because it's all about we're awesome. We hire awesome people, so let's treat each other like awesome people. We don't hire Muppets, so treat each other in that way. The next one, have a crack. That's all about giving it a go. Again, in their own language, in their own way. Don't screw the customer. Again, we all have something related to customers. That's what they have. This next one, don't be a head. Now, when I did travel the world talking about my last book and sharing this, I have to be honest, and I've learned that word in about 10 different languages now. So yeah, there you go. But the great thing about that last value that I really, really like, and this is one of the things that I think is powerful about values, is when it becomes a part of your language and it helps people be better. So what she said when I interviewed her, Denise Hanlon, she said that it gave people permission when someone was acting like that word, and we've all been around people like that before. It gave them permission to speak up and say, you know what, this is one of our values. This is something that's important to us. And it prevented the wrong behaviors. And I think it's an interesting way of looking at values and thinking about how it can do that for you. Now, this is same country, Australia, same industry, tech, but different. Kylie shared a story about Atlassian, really innovative, creative company. Similar language, maybe it's just the Australian thing, Kylie, I don't know, do you all walk around swearing all the time? We don't do that in England, right? Not all the time, some of the time, yeah, there you go. First one, open company, no bullshit. Again, it just says it right there. Play as a team. It's very important for them to work together as a team. Build with heart and balance, that's how they lead from the heart. Be the change you seek, that's their words, their approach to innovation. And then let's get another swear word in, don't the customer. Again, a little bit different, unique, works for them. Thought I'd pick a completely different industry for my last one. This is an American company. When I grew up, everybody had a little red radio flyer wagon. It's one of those little wagons that you pull your children on. What I like about their values is that the word radio, so the company's Radio Flyer, the word radio they use for their mission and purpose. So their mission and purpose is spelled out with the R, the A, the D, the I, the O. And then flyer, I don't know if you can see this, but their values spell out the word flyer. So it's a way that people can remember them. And I've got lots of examples of ways that companies have made it so that employees can memorize them and remember them. So their values are phenomenal customer experience with fun capitalized, live with integrity, yes, I can, excellence in everything, and responsible for success. So there is no right or wrong way of doing values. The point of this one is to do it in your own unique way, in your own language. So the next one is, can and will they be lived? Now, this might seem like an obvious one, but has anyone ever worked for a company where you've got values and you walk around and you think, no one ever uses this value? They say one thing, they do the other. Maybe it just shouldn't be a value. So you've got two choices. Either you start living it and you step up to the plate and you live it, or you just admit that, you know what, we don't want to contradict ourselves and we don't have it as a value. And I'm going to give you an example of this. This is a story about a company in Canada. It's called G Adventure, and they do adventure holidays. And like most companies, what they do is they have a deposit that you give. And if you cancel, which I'm sure we've all done before, you lose your deposit. And one of their employees said, we've got this value that talks about how important the customer is. Then why do we have this? You know, the customer is canceling because something has gone wrong in their life. Why are we doing this to our customer? And the employee went to the leadership team and challenged them. And the leadership team said, you know what? He's right. If we believe this much in our customer, we need to change our way of working. And they did. They changed it. So now if you cancel, you have a lifetime deposit. So they probably lost money. If you think about it, all that money they would have gotten from people who canceled, but they did what was right so that they could hand on heart say that they were living their value. So values aren't just when it comes to the people side, they have to be in the business side as well. So again, think about, are you living them? And then the last one is that whole future proofing, okay? And we should be asking ourselves, are they working now, but are they also working in the future? And think about, are they going to prevent us from doing what we need in the future? And it was interesting because when I interviewed the people for the book, I asked them, have you ever changed your values? And some of the most common reasons for changing the values was when this happened. So the company grew, or we went through a merger, or something happened in the business and they realized that their values that they had now weren't going to work in the future. And I wanted to give you an example of that. This is a company in the US called Nav. And when they were small, they had a value, which is be a hero, which talks about stepping up and fixing a problem or a situation, which worked great as a small company. You own it, you do it, you step up. But as they got bigger, you can imagine they're going to start stepping on each other's toes, and it's get confusing who owns it, who doesn't own it. So what they did is they changed their value, and they changed it to indivisible, which means working hard together with intellectual honest wisdom and real-time communication while having each other's back. So you can see how it evolved. So what I'd like you to do as your first challenge, and call me if you have any questions on this, is to take that step back, look at these 4 questions, and ask yourselves, do you have the right values to begin with? Okay? And if you don't, you might be one of many people in your company. You can borrow one of Reward Gateway's values, which is speak up and let your business know we need to do something about it. Okay, next, How can you bring your values out to play? Now, the reason I use the word play is that if I think about a game and I think of, I don't know, basketball, baseball, hockey, anything, you've got this piece of equipment. And the only way that you can play the game is with it. And that's exactly what we need to do with our values. We need to bring them out. We need to play with them. We need to put them everywhere in our organization. And when I did a survey at the beginning, there's certain points in time where a lot of us were doing that, but then there are other points in times where we don't. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share some ways that companies are doing it to inspire you. But again, go back and think about how are you doing it in your company. I'm not expecting everybody to be perfect. You know, we do have to take small steps. So if you're not doing it everywhere today, think about when you leave, what's one small thing that you can do? And I tried to pick some examples that you could take away and start doing tomorrow. But before I do that, I've just said why values are important, and I've said that you need to bring them out to play. But for anyone who knows me, I like doing things a little bit different, and I like to make points in a different way. So I need 4 volunteers to come join me. Come on up. Come on up. 1, 2, 2 more. Come on. There's chocolates involved. There you go. All right. So you 2 are together. If you want to stand right here. Whoops, and you stand over there. You're going to throw a ball to each other. So you go over there. You're partners. Come over here. Where's my 4th person? I need another person. Come on up. There you go. And you go over there. Thanks. Okay. So there's a ball. There's a ball. Okay. So can you throw the ball to each other, please? Whew. Good, good. That's what's supposed to happen. See how lovely that is? They're catching the ball. Oh, they're almost catching the ball. There you go. Perfect. Okay, let's make life a little bit harder. So, come here, guys. Pick a blindfold. You've got lots of different blindfolds. We've got a zebra. We've got a mouse. Come here, come grab one. Everybody come grab one. You want the zebra?
I have a pink
one. You have the pink one, the dog one. Okay. So get in your spot and then put your blindfold on. I hope this works to make the point. Okay. Do you want to put the ball down? Okay, so who's got the ball? Wait a minute. You have a ball already? Okay, so on 3, throw it. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3, throw it. Oh, no, that's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to drop. There you go. You're just too good.
Sorry.
1 out of 3 people, though. 1 out of 4. There's my statistic, though. There you go. Okay, throw it back again.
Where are you?
Good, throw. Oh, you can take your blindfolds off, yes. Okay, the point of that exercise was if you hide your values, what will happen? You won't be able to catch them. Yay, thank you. You will now remember that. There you go. If you want to get, you can have books or chocolates or both. There you go. There you go. Books, chocolates. Where's my clicker? Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
So if you ever need to convince your leadership team why you need values, there you go. You now know what to do. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you a couple key moments. Okay? I call these VMMs, which are values memory moments. So at different times that you're interacting with your employees, and think about what you're doing at your company already. The first time is when you launch your values or relaunch your values. And there's some really great examples of what companies are doing. As a matter of fact, I'm helping a company next week launch their values at Kidzania. Now, Kidzania is about play, so that's definitely going to be fun. This company in the Netherlands decided to launch their values on April Fool's Day, as one does. Zappos launched theirs on Valentine's Day. But April Fool's Day is a bit different. And they decided, since it was April Fool's Day, that they would play a trick on their employees. So what they did, I don't know if you can see this here, is they came up with their full pack. So their values, they've got 6 values at Impraise, and they call their values their 6-pack. They don't call them values, they call them their 6-pack. So they announced these as their full pack, and they put the opposite of what the values are. So trust no one, lead with ego. That's how we've always done it. And the great thing about it when I spoke to Anna is she said it got conversations going. So at that point in time, they didn't even know what the values were. But it was all about talking about, what do you think these things mean? I did ask her if anybody thought that they were the true values. And she did say she had a couple people come up to her and say, I'm not sure I want to work at this company. These are not my kind of values. So again, have some fun with launching your values. Hiring. Every single one of us in this room should use values when we're hiring people. Remember that statistic. 27% of people do not believe in their values. Everyone should believe in the values. It's the right thing to do for the person. It's the right thing to do for the company. I've got two examples here. First one is a company in the US called WD-40. Now, most people should have their values on their website. I have to say, when I was doing research, I didn't see them in every company. So if you don't have your values on your website, that's an easy fix. Put them up there, okay? But WD-40 do more than that. They not only have them on there, but if someone is applying for a job, the first screen they see are their values saying, this is who we are. They go through the whole application process online, and right before they press that final button, one more time it says, just so you know, these are the values that we live by. Do not press this button unless you believe in them. How powerful is that? They're really saying, this is important to us. And I think that's a great example of, again, not something that's hard to do. This company, I shared something from them before. What they started doing when they first started interviewing against values is they would identify red flags. Many of you might do this already. You'll say, oh, this person's brilliant, but there is a little bit of a values red flag. But I'm going to hire them anyway because they're brilliant, right? What they did is they took a step back and they analyzed how many people were not successful who had red flags, and there was a direct correlation. Every single person who had a red flag, it didn't work out. So they put a line in the sand and they said, I don't care how great the person is. I don't care if they're the best technician in the world. We don't want red flags. And they don't hire anybody else with red flags. Now, I think that's really bold, and I know it's hard to do, but I think our role is to make sure that we don't get people in the door who do not believe in our values. They don't have to, like drink the Kool-Aid and, believe everything about it. They can interpret it in their own way, but they do need to want to work in the way that your values talk about. So that's hiring. The next one is onboarding, another really special moment, another VMM, value memory moment. I can never say that, okay? And again, there's so many different ways to do this. I wanted to share a really simple, straightforward one that Reward Gateway does. So many of you probably give your employees something when they join the company. So at Reward Gateway, they give a box, a welcome box. And what they started doing, and you can probably see this, is that each of the elements of the box is linked to a value. So from the beginning, from day one, the employees are seeing these aren't just words on the wall. These are things that we're going to use. And they should be talked about in the onboarding process. I didn't put a slide for this, but Zappos, a company in the US, one of the things they do is they've got, I think, a 2 or 3 week onboarding process. And at the very end, what they do is each of the new employees has to do a values presentation. So they have to get up in front of all the other fellow new employees, and they have to present about what did they learn during their orientation as to what that value meant and what it means to them. And again, a really powerful, simple way of making sure that people know that the values are being played with and are used over and over again. Recognition. All of us should be recognizing against values. Again, if values are the behaviors, those are the behaviors that we should be saying, good job, this is what we want, and appreciating people against them. I love this example. This is Charles Turret, and they've got 3 values. So they've got be the boss, be the customer, be the best. And then they have 3 behaviors for each of their values. And you can even recognize people on the behaviors. So they sort of take it to that next level. They recognize based off of values and behaviors. And the reason that it's important, and this is just one statistic, and it shouldn't surprise any of us, is that if you have values-based recognition, you are 2 times more likely to reinforce and drive business results. And again, because you're bringing them out to play, you're talking about them over and over again. So again, if you're not using them in recognition, Really easy. If you don't have an online system, go out and design some values postcards, okay? Or put a value on a glass wall and start using Post-its, okay? Lots of easy ways to do it. The last one I wanted to mention is performance management. Now, this is the area when I interviewed people that not as many people were doing this yet, because this is a bold step. If you bring values into performance management, what you're saying is you're putting your money where your mouth is. You're saying it's not just about what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. And there is no perfect way. I've got an example in the book of how different companies have done the weighting differently. Atlassian, who I mentioned before, they've recently changed their performance management to be this way. And they've got 3 equally weighted elements of performance management. The first is expectations of the role. So me as an individual, what am I doing? Second, based off of the team. Remember, one of their values is play as a team. They took a step back recently and they said, this is one of our values, teamwork. We need to bring that into performance management. So they've just started doing this, very new. And then values, the demonstration of the values. And at the end of the performance cycle, their rating and their money is based off of these things. So again, don't know if you're ready for that bold step yet, but at least make it a part of the conversation, okay? Even if you're not going to determine a performance rating, start bringing it into the discussion. Okay, so I've shared different touch points and different ideas. Hopefully they've given you some food for thought, and you can go back and change those. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is how can you keep them alive? Now, going back to Apollo 13, when it was a part of them, it was intrinsic to them. I call that part of your muscle memory. When you don't even have to think about it, you just do it. And the only way to get that is to bring them out to play and then keep playing with them over and over and over again. I've got a story about this. It's not really values related, but it's about this concept of muscle memory. So you won't be surprised to hear that I was a gymnast, not a basketball player. I was a gymnast, and I did competitive gymnastics my whole formative years, okay? It was a part of who I was. So in my 20s, I was riding my bike this one day, and I got hit by a car. As I was flying through the air, the car there, the traffic coming, the people, everything, my muscle memory took over, and do you know what I did? True story. I tucked and did a front flip. And I didn't just do a front flip, but I was a competitive gymnast, right? I did a 10-point landing. There you go. That is where you can imagine the looks on everyone around. They didn't know if they should applaud, should they laugh, should they cry. It was hilarious. Anyway, that's what you want from your employees. As they're flying through the air, trying to make decisions, you want those values to be intrinsic. One company I spoke to, they don't even hang their values on the walls because they don't want it to be that way. They don't want it to be something that people just look at and see it as a word. They want it to be that part of that muscle memory. So I'm just going to share a couple different ways that you can keep your values alive. So I talked about hanging them on the wall. And I'm not a big proponent of just hanging them on the wall, but I do like it on the wall because it's a memory. You know, you walk by it all the time. This is a company in Boston called C-Space, and I love their values wall. Look at it. They've got all their lovely icons. It's nice and big. They put it in a spot where everyone walks all the time. You might as well do that, yeah. Next example, if you're not going to put it on the wall, put it on cushions. I just posted this the other week, and I had all these people comment on it. I'm like, let's go do values cushions. I can picture people throwing, values cushion into each other. Don't be a head cushion or whatever. But it's a great idea. It's a fun idea. I went and interviewed them, and we sat on the couch, and we had our values cushions there. On a more serious note, there's different ways that you can take individual values and do things with it. This is a company called Vinabelle's Bell and Partners. If anyone ever read Build It, they're the golden toilet people. I love them. I'll tell you that story another time. One of their values is to be fearless. And they decided to put some money behind that concept. They wanted people to be fearless. So once a year, they have this Fearless Project, where anyone in the company can come forward and present to the rest of the staff about what they want to be fearless about. Normally isn't anything related to work whatsoever. It's something that might be personal to them or passionate to them, and they're awarded $15,000 US to do something. So again, they're using this value in lots of different ways to get people talking about it, both at work and also at home. This is something I did when I was at Merlin. I love this idea. Where's Katie? Yeah. I love the video. It was my idea, just so you know. That's why I'm allowed to say it. So it's this video competition, which is such a fun idea. So once a year, we would get all of our employees in the different attractions to be in a competition, because everyone loves a competition. And you would do like a 1 or 2 minute video about one or more values. And it was wonderful. Again, it got people talking about it. And then when you'd watch the videos, you would like learn about values in a different way by how people use these videos. So again, simple idea. You can do that one. The other way that you can do it is to bring your values into key moments in time. So Glenn is actually speaking right now at another one. Misguided, if you know anything about Misguided, they always do things in their own unique way. They were celebrating their 10-year anniversary. Now, they don't call their values values, they call them vibes. Could I try again? So instead of calling them values, they call them vibes. There you go. And to celebrate their 10-year anniversary, they created Vibes cocktails. Has anyone ever done that before? I love that idea. So you can see they've got 4 values: love lots, martini, believe always G&T, dream big G&T. How clever is that? And they also even had Vibes burgers, okay? So again, key moments, think about how you can bring it in there. Continuing with Misguided, another way that you can do it, similar to the wall where it's always in their faces. I'm sure most of us have some type of internet or communications portal. Similar to what I said about when you have a careers website, your values should be on that portal. It should be the first thing that people see when they log in the morning as a reminder. And these are this is the Misguided page with theirs. They've got really different vibes. Hashtag love lots, hashtag believe always, hashtag dream big, and hashtag win together. So again, think about how you can put it in that communications on an ongoing basis. And then the last one I wanted to share is one of those ones where it makes the point that you can't do something on your own. For something as big as values, you need everyone in the company joining forces and working together on it. You want the leaders to actually walk the talk and role model it. But you also, what a great opportunity to get values champions. Does anybody do values champions? Such a great idea. And what you do is you get people around your business who are going to be ambassadors for you. They're going to put that values cape on, and they're going to fly around, and they're going to inspire people. They're going to give you ideas to be able to keep it fresh over and over again. KP Stacks does a really good job with it. They do a lot of training of their values champions, which I think is really important. You don't just give someone the cape and say, go off and do it. But they train the people. They bring them together for a conference. So make sure that they're trained. So I've shared with you a couple different ways that you can create those value memory moments at certain key points in time. Also, how you can do it on an ongoing basis through things like walls and recognition and portals. There's so many different ways that you can do that. But I wanted to end with just 6. Guess what's the average number of values that people have in my survey that I did? Anybody want to guess what the magic number is? 4? 5. Personally, I like anything around 3 because I can't remember more than 3 things. So it's interesting, actually. Remember what Charles Tyrwhitt did? They had 3 values, but then 3 behaviors, so you only had to remember 3. I'm not saying 5's the perfect number. Zappos has 10, and they're all amazing. I don't know which one I would get rid of, but just think about what's the magic number there. Okay, back to my final tip. So I've said a couple of these, a few new things also. It's really important, as I said at the beginning, is to start with the right values. If you don't have the right values, you're going to drive the wrong behavior. So start with the right ones. Ensure your leadership has buy-in. There's a whole chapter in the book. It's my shortest chapter in the book because what more do I need to say but leaders need to own it. It's not us who owns values. It's everybody who owns it, and it needs to start with the leaders, and you need to bring them into it and make sure they understand the importance of it. Embed them absolutely everywhere. Some of the companies I interviewed, they have them on their footer of their email or in anything that they write to people. They have them color-coded so that when they communicate to employees, if you get something in blue, it's related to this value. Embed them, plumb them, whatever you want to call them, put them everywhere. The next one, communicate them over and over again. I write about how people don't remember things. I can't remember the statistics, but it's something like by the end of the week, you're going to forget 90% of what you heard. So if you don't keep communicating it over and over and over again, it's going to fall through the cracks. People are not going to remember them. The reason I could do that front flip is because I had been doing front flips since I was 5 years old, okay? And I could do them over and over again. Make them non-negotiables. Remember I talked about hiring and red flags. If you have people who got in the organization who are no longer living them, definitely coach them, develop them, but then think about the negative impact they're having on everyone else around them. My husband right now is working in a company, and he is having the most difficult time because the people around him are doing those April Fool's values. They are doing the opposite. And the reason that he is not engaged right now is because of those people bringing him down. Those people are not living the values. We don't want that to happen in our organizations. I think Bruce was talking about the disengaged, not just the disengaged, the ones who are actively disengaged. That's what those people are going to do in your company. And then finally, make them everyone's responsibilities. Every single person, bringing them into performance management, bringing them into recognition, everybody together is going to do that. If you think about Apollo 13, it wasn't just those 3 people who survived. It was everyone on the ground who helped them survive, and everybody celebrated that win. If one person had given up, the whole thing would have failed. It was them bringing themselves together. So, the good news is, and some of you might have realized it, you are the lucky people who get a copy of my book. Not everybody here does, so feel free to walk around and go, ha ha. No, only kidding. So you will get a copy of the book, and I hope it helps you. I loved writing it because I loved interviewing wonderful people who were in the book and being inspired. And if you have any good stories that you want to share with me, I'm always looking for them.